Aaron walked ahead of Mason through the long, crystalline corridor that led to the private chamber reserved only for the royal heirs. Her steps were quiet, but her thoughts were loud and sharp. She could hear the guards whispering behind them, confused and unsettled by the idea of a human being allowed into a place even high-ranking nobles rarely entered. Every torch flickered blue light along the walls, making her feel exposed as if the corridor itself was watching. Mason followed a few steps behind. She expected him to stare at everything in awe, like most off-worlders did when seeing the shimmering crystal architecture of the Varric's palace, but he didn't. His attention stayed calm, focused, and strangely respectful. He didn't touch the walls or peer into the decorative alcoves. He kept a measured distance from her, not rushing, not hesitating. That made her even more uneasy. When they reached the chamber, she placed her hand on the glowing panel. The door opened quietly. The room inside was warm, dimly lit by floating lights that drifted like tiny stars. Soft fabrics lined the walls and floor, and a circular table sat in the center. This space was meant for serious discussions. Choices made here shaped the future of kingdoms. As the door closed behind them, Aaron finally turned to him. She expected him to speak immediately, to use his new authority with eagerness or arrogance. But he didn't. Mason simply stood there, waiting for her to acknowledge the moment. She took a slow breath. "You asked for a private meeting. We are here. What do you want?" Mason looked around briefly, then met her eyes. "To understand why you were afraid today." His words were simple, but they cut deeper than any insult or demand. She stared at him, unsure how he could see through her so easily. "I wasn't afraid," she said, but her voice carried hesitation she couldn't hide. He didn't mock her. He didn't challenge her. He only spoke softly. "You were? Not of the law, not of me. You were afraid of what would happen if Soriax kept controlling you." Aaron's breath caught. She took a step back, without meaning to. "Who told you that?" she asked quietly. "No one." "I saw it," he replied. He wasn't pushing her. He wasn't demanding confessions. He was simply stating what he observed. Humans were known for emotional reading, but she hadn't expected him to read her so quickly. Aaron turned away. "You think too much of your own ability?" Mason shrugged. "Maybe, but fear looks the same on every world." She felt insulted, but also strangely understood. He continued. "Soriax treats you like a symbol, not a person. He believes he protects the kingdom, but really he protects his pride." Aaron forced her voice to harden. "Soriax has served my family for decades. He has earned his place." "I'm not saying he hasn't," Mason said calmly. "I'm saying he forgot you're not a tool." She froze. No one dared say such things. Not to her. Not about the protector. Not in the royal court. But here, in the privacy of her chamber, his honesty felt sharp and undeniable. She turned back to him, her voice quieter. "Even if what you say is true, you don't know our customs? You don't understand our past. You don't know the weight of tradition." "I don't," he said. "And I'm not trying to break your world. I'm trying to help you stand in it without someone else deciding every part of your life." The words hit her deeper than she wanted to admit. She finally sat at the circular table. Her posture proud, but her expression softer. Mason approached, but didn't sit until she gestured for him to. Again, that respect something Soriax rarely showed unless in ceremony. So, she asked, gathering strength, "What is your intention now that you hold authority over my court?" He looked thoughtful. "Honestly, I didn't enter the trial thinking I'd win." That surprised her. "Then why challenge it?" "Because someone asked me to look into the court's internal struggles," Mason said. "And when I saw how Soriax commanded things, how he shut down every voice but his own, how he limited who could speak to you, I realized something was wrong." Aaron stiffened. "You think my court is weak?" "No," Mason said. "I think it's suffocating." The room felt smaller somehow. His words struck too close to truth. Her court was full of strong people, but the system itself often trapped them. Tradition became cage instead of guide. She looked at him with narrowed eyes. "Why do you care?" "You're not from my world." He leaned forward slightly. "Because your father's alliance requested evaluation?" Because your court is facing 3 external threats. And because someone needs to listen to you. Erin's heartbeat slowed. For years she had been heard but not listened to. Her concerns were dismissed as youthful caution. Her instincts were overshadowed by Soriax's experience. Every time she tried to make her own choices, tradition silenced her. Mason didn't say it with pity. He said it with clarity. She studied him quietly. You think you can fix my court? He shook his head. No, I think you can. I'm just here to clear the obstacles you couldn't remove alone. Those words made her chest tighten with something unexpected. A strange warmth that felt like encouragement, not pressure. She hated that it came from someone she barely knew. But she needed it more than she wanted to admit. A silence settled between them. Not hostile, but heavy with unspoken truths. Finally, she asked, "What do you want from me then?" Mason exhaled slowly. Honesty. About what? Everything you feel but can't say in front of your court? Erin looked away. You asked too much. You deserve to speak, he said. She didn't respond right away. Speaking truth wasn't dangerous, but admitting weakness was. And tradition taught her to hide anything that could be used against her. Mason waited with patient silence. Finally, she whispered, I am not ready to rule. He didn't flinch. He didn't show surprise. He simply listened, she continued, voice trembling even as she tried to steady it. Soriax believes strength means control. He believes power means never hesitating. But I question everything. I see the world differently, and that makes them think I am weak. That makes you smart, Mason said gently. She swallowed. I fear the wrong choice could bring war to my people. You're afraid because you care, Mason replied. Soriax isn't afraid because he cares only about victory. Something pained in her chest loosened. For the first time in years, she didn't feel alone. Mason stood and walked toward one of the floating lights, watching it drift. Your court won't accept me easily. I know that. But while I hold authority, I'm going to make sure they listen to you. Erin blinked. Why? He turned back to her. Because leaders don't need protectors who silence them. They need protectors who help them be heard. Her breath shook. She rose slowly. Her steps carried her closer to him without meaning to. She stopped just a few feet away, close enough to see the small scars on his arms, the calm in his eyes, the steadiness in his posture. You are different from what I expected, she murmured. You too, he said. A soft alarm chimed, suddenly a court summons. Erin turned toward the door with frustration tightening her expression. The elders want to meet immediately. They must be furious. Let them be. She looked at him again. You don't understand how strong their resistance will be, and I'll be stronger. His voice wasn't arrogant. It was certain, grounded, unshakable. Erin felt something shift inside, her like a new foundation forming beneath. Everything she thought she knew. When they stepped out of the chamber, 3 guards glared at Mason, but he ignored them. The elders waited in the grand hall, standing in a circle around the central platform. Their faces were hard, their eyes sharp. As Erin approached, they bowed stiffly. No one bowed to Mason, but they couldn't ignore the law. The Prime Elder stepped forward. Princess Erin, he said, voice tense. We must discuss the consequences of this human's victory. Mason crossed his arms calmly. Good. Let's discuss. The elders looked offended by his confidence. The Prime Elder continued. According to tradition, he may now influence court decisions. But we must establish limits. There are no limits, Mason said. The law is clear. Gasps spread through the hall. Some nobles whispered angrily. Erin watched him, surprised by how boldly he confronted them. The elder glared. Human, your presence is already a disruption. We cannot allow you to overturn centuries of structure. Mason stepped onto the platform. Then rebuild the structure so it doesn't crush the princess under its weight. The hall erupted in shouts. Erin stood still, her heart pounding, so our Y-Ax stormed in from the side. Armor still dented, expression full of controlled rage. You dare challenge our laws at their core. Mason turned to face him. I'm not challenging your laws. I'm following them. The law gave me authority. I'm using it. Soryax clenched his fists. The room filled with silent pressure, like a storm gathering. The Prime Elder tried to regain control. Human, you cannot demand we reshape our system. Mason's voice stayed firm. Then the law you created has already reshaped it. Iron felt the truth hit them harder than any strike. They had made the law unbreakable. Now it was working against them. The elders muttered among themselves. Soryax growled. Furious but unable to fight without breaking the same law he defended. Erin stepped beside Mason, her voice calm but strong. He is right. The room shifted. The balance of power changed with those words. Soryax looked at her in disbelief. The Prime Elder looked like he wanted to protest, but tradition chained him. Mason bowed his head slightly toward her. Not because he claimed her court, but because she had taken the first step to claim. The next sunrise over the Varric's capital brought no peace. The sky shimmered with pale gold light as two moons rested on opposite horizons, but the palace felt heavier than ever. Rumors spread through every hall. The human was reshaping the court. The princess was taking a stand. The elders were cornered by their own law. Every servant whispered, every guard watched with suspicion or curiosity, and every noble waited for a chance to judge. Erin walked toward the main council chamber. Her silver bands tightened around her arms in a ceremonial style she rarely wore. Today would decide everything, whether Mason's authority became a turning point or a disaster. The court had demanded an emergency assembly, claiming that the human's presence threatened stability. Mason walked at her side, calm as always. She studied him out of the corner of her eye. He didn't walk like someone carrying power. He walked like someone carrying responsibility. That difference confused her, challenged her, made her feel seen in a way she had never known before. You don't have to speak today, Mason told her quietly. You can let me handle it. Erin shook her head. I want to speak. Mason's steps slowed slightly as he looked at her. They won't make it easy. I know, she said softly, but I also know you won't let them silence me. He gave a small smile. That's a promise. They entered the chamber. Every elder was already present, standing in a half circle. The nobles filled the seats, their expressions tense. Even Soryax was there, armor repaired, but his pride still cracked. The guards didn't look directly at Mason, but they watched him from the corners of their eyes, wary of what he would do. The Prime Elder stepped forward with a stiff posture. Princess Erin, Human Mason. Hey, this emergency assembly has been called to review your recent actions and determine whether the court must place restrictions on your authority. Mason crossed his arms. Restrictions? The law does not allow. The elder glared. Your presence disrupts the balance of our court. Mason shrugged. Maybe your balance needed disrupting. Gasps filled the hall. Erin hid a small grin behind a calm expression. The elders looked offended. They couldn't punish him not without breaking the law they swore to uphold. The Prime Elder raised his voice. We will begin with testimonies. Commander Soryax stepped forward. Soryax marched to the center, his posture full of hard pride. His deep voice filled the chamber. The human has no respect for our traditions. He exploits the law to force changes he has no right to make. Mason responded calmly. I only used the authority the law gave me. Soryax snapped. Authority gained through trickery and unpredictability. Erin spoke quietly, but firmly. Commander, the law does not forbid unpredictability. The chamber fell silent again. Nobles stared at her, shocked that she dared correct her protector. Soryax clenched his jaw. Princess, you are young. You do not understand the weight of these customs. Your protector's role is to guide you. Mason's voice cut through the air. Guide her or control her? Soryax turned to him with barely contained rage. I protected her from dangerous influences. Erin stepped forward. You protected your pride, not me. Every guard stiffened. The nobles froze. Soryax's eyes widened in disbelief. He opened his mouth to argue, but Erin continued before he could speak. You shut down my voice in council. You shaped my choices to match your will. You convinced the elders I was not ready. You made decisions in my name without my consent. Her voice didn't shake. Her courage didn't break. Mason watched her quietly, small spark of pride in his eyes. The Prime Elder cleared his throat. Princess, these are serious accusations. Aaron turned to face the entire court. They are truths I was too afraid to say. A murmur spread through the chamber, not mockery, not disbelief, but surprise. They had never heard her speak so directly. For the first time, they were seeing their princess not as a symbol, but as a leader. Mason stepped beside her and addressed the court. Your traditions matter. Your history matters. But if those traditions keep your future leader silent, they are chains, not guidance. The nobles muttered. Some agreed, some resisted. But none could ignore that the law stood on Mason's side. Soriax growled. He is poisoning your mind. Aaron shook her head. He is giving me space to use it. Those words hit Soriax harder than the strikes during their fight. The Prime Elder raised his hand. Enough. We must discuss whether Mason Hale's influence over this court should remain unrestricted. Aaron spoke before Mason could. He won the trial fairly. You cannot change the law because you dislike the outcome. The Elder hesitated. Princess, this situation is unprecedented. A foreigner guiding the court is dangerous. Mason stepped forward. Then change the danger, not the law. Aaron looked at him with confusion. What do you mean? He turned to her. Let's fix your court, together. Her breath caught. The elders stared, unsure how to interpret the human's boldness. Mason addressed them all. The law grants me authority for one cycle. I will use that authority to do something none of you expected. The Prime Elder narrowed his eyes. Which is? Mason looked at Aaron, then back at the court. To strengthen the princess's position, to make sure that when my authority ends, she stands as someone no one can silence again. Aaron's heart pounded. Some nobles whispered in shock. Soriax looked like someone had struck him again. Mason continued. I'm not here to rule your court. I'm here to make sure your future ruler can. Aaron whispered. You would do that. For me, Mason met her eyes. You deserve to lead your people with your own voice. Her chest tightened with emotion she didn't know how to name. Respect? Gratitude? Trust? All of them mixed into something warm and frighteningly strong. The elders didn't know how to respond. They had expected Mason to demand power. Instead, he was offering something none of them had ever considered, cooperation. But Soriax wasn't done. He stepped forward, drawing attention back to himself. Princess, you cannot allow this human to guide you. He knows nothing of our ways, Aaron answered calmly. Then teach him. Learn from him. Grow with him. Or step aside. Soriax's jaw tightened. I will not step aside. Mason's voice was soft. Then you will be left behind. The commander exploded with rage. Enough. If you want to decide my place, then face me in a real battle, one without court rules. The chamber grew silent. Everyone stared. No one spoke. Aaron felt panic rise. Soriax, no Mason, cut her off gently. It's fine. She grabbed his arm instinctively. He is not like before. He is angry enough to kill. Mason looked at her with calm certainty, and I'm certain enough to stop him. The Prime Elder hesitated. A duel without court rules is dangerous. Someone will be injured. Soriax thundered, let it decide who deserves influence over the princess. Aaron's breathing quickened. This wasn't a simple challenge. This was Soriax's desperate attempt to reclaim everything he'd lost. Mason stepped forward. I accept. Aaron's heart nearly stopped. Mason, he turned to her. Trust me. She did. More than she wanted to. Moments later, the duel ground was prepared in the arena beneath the palace. Hundreds gathered. Nobles filled the stands. Guards secured the area. The air felt electric. Soriax entered the arena in full battle armor, eyes blazing. Mason entered with light armor, moving with calm purpose. He didn't carry a traditional weapon. He didn't posture. He merely squared his shoulders and steadied his breath. Erin watched from the protected gallery, her hands clenched tightly. She wasn't afraid for her kingdom. She was afraid for him. The signal sounded. Soriax charged with terrifying strength, the ground shaking beneath him. Mason moved faster this time, sharper, focused. He dodged the first blow by inches. The second blow scraped his armor. The third nearly caught his ribs. Erin's heart hammered painfully, but Mason began to adapt. He watched Soriax's patterns, waited for the moments when rage blinded the commander's precision. Each time Soriax swung wildly, Mason stepped inside the arc, turning his defense into advantage. The crowd gasped as Mason used Soriax's weight against him again and again, landing clean, controlled strikes. Pain slowed the commander's attacks. Anger clouded his choices. Erin saw it clearly. Mason wasn't stronger, but he was smarter. Finally, with a sharp shift in momentum, Mason hooked Soriax's arm and slammed him onto the ground. The arena shook with the impact. Soriax roared, trying to rise, but Mason stopped him with a simple hand pressed against the commander's chest. A gesture of victory without cruelty. The arena fell silent. Erin exhaled a shaking breath. The Prime Elder stood. The duel is decided. Mason Hale has proven mastery. Soriax lay still. Finally accepting the truth he fought so hard to deny. Mason stepped back. Breathing heavily, but unharmed, Erin rushed into the arena before the guards could stop her. She reached him, worry flooding her face. "Are you hurt?" Mason gave a small, tired smile. "Nothing serious." She looked at him with relief that warmed her entire being. "You didn't have to do that." "Someone had to free you," he said softly. She didn't know what she felt in that moment: gratitude, admiration, or something deeper, but she knew her court had changed forever. The elders gathered. The nobles bowed. The guards lowered their weapons. The people chanted in shock and awe. A human had defeated their greatest warrior twice. But for Erin, it felt like the first time fate had gone in her favor. She looked at Mason, this strange, calm, stubborn human, and whispered, "My court will never be the same." Mason. "Good. It's time it became yours."
NST.
Erin never imagined that a single message could change his life. He was a quiet human who worked far from the center of the galaxy, repairing damaged mining drones on a lonely outpost. His days were simple, predictable, and silent. If anyone had asked him to describe his life, he would have used only one word: ordinary. But that changed the moment a strange transmission arrived, formal, elegant, and signed by someone no human ever expected to hear from personally. Human Erin Holt. You are invited to dine with Her Radiance, Queen Salkara of the Valari Dominion. Attendance is expected. Erin read the message at least 10 times. He checked for pranks, checked for errors, even checked if some system malfunction had mixed messages. But the seal was real. The signature was real. The invitation was real. Hours later, he stood inside a palace made of glowing crystal and woven light. He walked through long corridors where the walls themselves hummed softly, alive with energy. Strange alien guards watched him as he passed. Their eyes were calm but unreadable, as if they already knew something he did not. He tried not to stumble as he walked, but the constant weight of the invitation pressed against his mind. He was a simple man, out of place in a palace meant for kings, generals, and rulers. The grand dining chamber waited behind towering doors. As they opened, Erin felt warm air brush his face, carrying scents he had never smelled before. The room was enormous, larger than his entire living quarters back home. Floating lanterns drifted above, glowing with soft blue light that made the air shimmer like gentle waves on water. A long table stretched across the room, covered with glowing dishes, exotic fruits, and crystal vases filled with silver flowers. At the far end sat Queen Salkara. She was nothing like the rumors. Humans described Valari rulers as terrifying, sharp, cold beings. But the queen looked calm. Tall, yesesly twice his height but graceful. Her skin was a smooth shade of violet, marked with glowing silver lines that moved slowly like quiet rivers under her skin. Her eyes, a deep gold, watched him with quiet interest. And her long white hair flowed freely, moving slightly even when the air was still. "Human Aaron," she said, her voice soft, yet echoing faintly around the chamber. "You may come closer." Aaron swallowed hard. His hands felt cold and his legs felt strange, but he forced himself to walk toward her. When he reached the table, he gave a stiff bow, unsure what Valari customs required. "Your Radiance," he managed to say. I still don't understand why I was called here." The Queen lifted her hand gently. "Sit first." "We will talk," Aaron obeyed. The chair felt too soft, almost like a cushion that adjusted around him. The table was filled with dishes he couldn't even name. Some glowed like captured starlight. Others floated a few centimeters above the plates. Everything looked beautiful, but also intimidating. Salkara watched him with a calm smile, as if she had all the time in the galaxy. "I know you feel confused," she said. "It is natural. I do not invite humans often." Aaron let out a shaky breath. "That's what worries me." Her smile widened slightly, not unkindly. "There is no danger here, Aaron Holt. If I meant harm, I would not be speaking to you like this." He tried to relax, but the tension in his shoulders refused to fade. He forced his eyes to stay on her instead of the strange food surrounding him. "Then why me?" he asked. "I'm not important. I'm not a soldier, not a diplomat. I'm just a mechanic." "Just a mechanic," she repeated softly, as if tasting the words. "Yet you underestimate what you are." He frowned. "What do you mean?" Salkara leaned back slightly, studying him as if he were a puzzle she had been waiting to solve. "I chose you for a reason," she said. "Humans release unique emotional energy. Most of your people do not know this, but we Valari, we can sense it. And yours, Aaron, is rare." "Emotional energy?" He echoed. "Yes," she said. "It is not magic. It is science, very old science. Your emotions, your thoughts, your reactions. They create waves. These waves can be felt by certain Valari. They can be harvested, shaped, or used in rituals." Aaron blinked slowly. "Rituals?" "Yes," she replied, her golden eyes glowing a little brighter. "Tonight's dinner is not an ordinary meal. It is what we call the resonance ceremony." The words alone did nothing to explain anything. He wanted to understand, but each new detail made him feel more lost. "Your Radiance." This invitation said something that scared me. He hesitated, unsure how she would react. It said, "I was the real." Of course. For the first time, her expression softened. Almost apologetic. "Our language does not translate perfectly into English," she said. "You are not a meal. You will not be eaten." The message meant something different than what did it mean. He whispered, "That you are the source. The center of the ritual. The one from whom the resonance is drawn." Aaron stared at her hands on the table, long and elegant. He tried to understand, but the concept felt too strange. "Drawn how?" he asked quietly. "Through your emotions," she explained. "The more you feel fear, wonder, calm, curiosity, the stronger the resonance. The food on this table will absorb that energy. When we eat it, we taste the emotions you release." Aaron's heartbeat quickened. "So, the dishes absorb how I feel." "Yes? And you eat the feelings?" "Correct. That is the Valari way." Pressed a hand against his forehead. "This is a lot." "I know," she said gently. "But it does not harm you. You lose nothing. You are simply..." Reflected. Something in her tone sounded almost vulnerable, like she wanted him to understand her world instead of fear it. "Why me?" he asked again, voice softer this time. Salkara hesitated for a brief second, as though deciding whether to reveal something personal. "You were chosen because your emotional waves are unusually stable," she said. "I studied your records. You stayed calm during an electrical storm that destroyed 6 mining towers. You've helped your coworkers during a hull breach instead of running. You repaired a burning engine by yourself to save a pilot you had never met." Aaron stared at the table, embarrassed. He never thought anyone noticed those things. "You are steady," she continued. "Steady people create clean resonance. Beautiful resonance. Rare resonance." Aaron felt his chest tighten, not from fear this time, but from the strange realization that something had truly seen him. "I'm just doing my job," he murmured. And yet she said, leaning forward a little, the galaxy noticed. Meeting her golden eyes again. She wasn't lying. She wasn't joking. She truly believed everything she said during the ritual. She continued softly, "You may feel certain emotions more strongly. Memories might surface. Thoughts might become clearer. But nothing will hurt you." Aaron hesitated. "And if I don't want to do this?" She folded her hands gently. "Then you may leave. I will not stop you, just like that." "Just like that," she confirmed. "You may return to your outpost, and the evening will pass into history without a ripple." The hall was beautiful, quiet, peaceful, but under the beauty was a powerful feeling, like the air itself was waiting for his answer. Salkara's voice softened. "Human Aaron, you came this far? If you walk away now, I will not be angry. But I will be disappointed, not in you. In fate." Aaron stared at the glowing cup placed near him. Inside it, a liquid shimmered like liquid moonlight. "What happens if I drink this?" he asked. "The ceremony begins," she answered. "The resonance flows. The experience unfolds, and you get what you need." "I get understanding," she said simply. "Not power, not control, understanding." Her honesty surprised him. She wasn't using him. She wasn't tricking him. She simply wanted to experience something ancient and meaningful. He took a deep breath. "Will this change me?" Salkara studied him for a long moment. "There are things inside every heart that wait to be awakened. Whether that change is good or bad depends on what you carry." That answer felt both comforting and dangerous. Aaron stared at the glowing drink again. His life had been quiet, calm, predictable, maybe too predictable. Maybe he had been waiting for something without realizing it, and now, here it was, a queen watching him, a ritual waiting. A decision only he could make. He slowly wrapped his fingers around the cup. The surface felt warm, almost alive. Salkara's eyes widened slightly, not in hunger, not in dominance, but in quiet anticipation. Like a scientist watching a rare star appear after centuries. Like someone who had waited a long time to meet someone who finally arrived. "Aaron Holt," she whispered, her voice calm and sincere. "Whatever you choose, I honor your decision." His heart pounded once. Then he lifted the cup, and everything inside the palace seemed to hold its breath.